I will provide feedback for student A of our DP26 cohort, their biology IA draft. The first thing I'd say as I look at this space is just not needed. You've got a research question here. You've got it again down here. You don't need it twice. It's all about efficiency. Now, looking at the research question, okay, average and maximum length, italics, come on, it's a species name, and height above shore. What height above shore? What does that mean? Coming down to the table of content, okay, great. Not needed at all. A few silly mistakes to fix, but if you're going to include it, make sure you've got page numbers. Use the auto page number feature in either Microsoft Word or Google Docs, where you designate all your headings as headings on the way through, and it auto generates at the end. Still not really needed. Research question again, same comments. Okay, there's an image here. What's your source? You need some sort of source under this, even if it's photograph taken by author. Looking at the background information, there's a few bits needed. The research question is about height up and down the intertidal zone, but there's nothing about this in the background information. The lower is usually due to competition, the upper limit's usually due to desiccation or drying out. The research question is about the size of the dog whelks, yet there is nothing on this in the background information. Study site, the bay that was used, there's no image or information about it. Also, you talk about Castle Bay facing strong and frequent waves. Well, it does not. It's quite a sheltered bay. I believe you should be able to find the wave exposure value for it and then include that in your background information. The hypothesis. Initially, the reasoning looks pretty sound, but then when you think about it, why is there more wave action lower in the intertidal zone than higher? This is unclear and probably not correct, so you need to revisit this. Controlled variables. Okay, independent, fair enough, dependent, but controlled variables. Excuse me, height upshore has been listed as your independent variable. It can't also be a controlled variable, lose it. Length away from shore, I'm not sure what this is. I think I would probably lose this as well. Location and time of day, I'm sorry, but no. This is not about my teachers. This is about what location was used. State it, name it. Tell us why you chose this and not the mudflats. Time of day, when was this done? Come on, it was at low tide. State it, not about teachers. As soon as anyone marking this reads this, your marks start to nosedive. Now, several controlled variables are missing and need to be added into this table here. You need something about size of quadrat. That's pretty fixed. You need something about the length of the transects around the seashore. You need something about the number of quadrats per height. Maybe methods. What do you do if a whelk, a dog whelk, is half in or half out of your quadrat? This is needed as well. Materials list. Tape measure. Really? What tape measure? Need a bit of detail. Coming down here, okay, optic level. We need more details. There's lots of different models of number generator. What is this? I think you mean a random number generator app, or did you use ChatGPT, or what did you use? No details. What thermometer? What ID key? All of these things need details. Method section. Why have you got 2 titles in a row? Now, my big idea here is change all of this to numbered steps. Step 1, step 2, not all these bullet points. And there's quite a bit missing. Very much, this is general. This is not your method. This is kind of a wishy-washy overview. You need details. If we go to this section, there's no specific information here about your investigation. Timing. When was this carried out? What time was low tide? What was the actual low tide on that day? There's just no details. I would not give this a good mark at all as a bioexaminer, IA moderator. Again, details missing. Good, we've got some numbers. Random sampling. Well, what did you use? Generate a selected app or. Your method is not an or. Your method reflects what you actually did. Type in the coding you used. If you put in between 0.00 and 10.0 to get sentiment, put that in. Whatever you use, name the app and describe how it was used. Now, the level we've talked about here is what you need in every part of your method. There's a caliper image here. Well, what's the source of this? Did you make this up? If so, say so. Image by author. If not, state the source. Controls. Come on, you've already got a controls variable table further up, so you don't need it again. Risk assessment, reasonable, but what about the tide coming up? Results tables, come on, tables start off with lines around the outside. This isn't a table yet. So you've got 21 metre wells. That's about as long as 4 to 5 cars. I think you need to revisit that. How many decimal places have you got here? How many here? Why does this number of decimal places not match your data? You need to make sure it all fits together. Okay, also, where's your descriptive title? What is this table? If I can read this table and know exactly what it is without having to scroll up or down to figure it out, then great. If not, it's not a winner. This is looking better. The lines around. Still, we've got 22 metre dog well. That can be fixed. Height above shore, 1 decimal place. That's looking good. But do not split a table over 2 pages. Start it at the top of another page. Shrink the font down if you have to get it onto 1 page. If you have an absolute ton of data, the IB dpBio allows you to present a small piece of your data rather than all of it. But the amount of data you've got, you can shrink this a couple of font sizes and get it onto 1 page straight away. Righty-ho, your graph. Well, there's a few things you need to do. This title, come on, does that really tell us what it is, where it is, etc.? Mean length of dog well? Well, I presume that has a unit, not up here, but down here. Height above sea level. Now, this is all the way through your report. Above what sea level? Above mean low water, above chart datum? You need to know that, so this makes sense. Is any of this useful? I would argue this is not useful, which means it's useless. It suggests about 3/4 of your graph is not needed, only the quarter bit is. You needed to take the standard deviations you've got up here in your table, you've actually got them, and add them to here. You should have error bars on each of these points. You should actually be able to see a clear point where each one is. They should all be different sizes. That's the quickest way for us to tell if you did it properly. If you do it in Google Sheets, they'll all be the same size. It really needs to be done in other software. That will make it much better. Now, the big miss I see here is your research question is about average size. Good, we've got it here. And about maximum size. And there's no information anywhere in your report about this, meaning 50% of your research question is not addressed. Now, before you make a conclusion, you need an analytical statistic to back up your conclusion. In this case, I'd suggest a one-way ANOVA, either done in Microsoft Excel if you have it, or use the Social Sciences Statistics website to carry it out. It will give you a number, because I don't agree with your conclusion here. A clear relationship between the length of the dog wells and their height above the shore at the stated beach. I don't see a clear increasing trend here. One of the problems is you've played join the dots. We don't do join the dots in science. You do a scatter graph and a trend line of best fit. Remove the junk you don't need to spread it out, up and down or vertically. Add the error bars and you'll start to see if there's a pattern of increasing or not. Then do an analytical statistic like your ANOVA, and you will have evidence to make this claim, because I think you're wrong here. You may not be, but there's not clear evidence that you have presented for this. Now, what's this generic other studies? To me, this says you haven't read any. You can't name them. You need to refer to specific studies and their locations. Do they agree with what you found or disagree? And develop this section a lot more. You also need to make sure you've got a reason why, a cited reason. If this is true, you've got larger hog whelk shells further up. Why? You need a cited reason in your conclusion. Now, there's a giant miss here. Where is your evaluation? It is an entire criteria. Now, with the new curriculum, you need problems or limitations, and you need how to fix these problems or limitations, and you need the significance of each problem or limitation. So I'd really suggest a 3-column table. However, we go back to this table, it's not a great use of space. Hardly any words, lots of words. Make this column narrower. Make this one wider. You'll take up much less space in your report. Finally, what's this bibliography thing? Our school's policy is to use MLA. So this is called Works Cited. It should be in alphabetical order. I'm not seeing that. It should be format hanging. You really need to watch my video on citing. It's on YouTube, Don't Eat Yellow Snow, which is linked on our class website. Now, I hope this helps you to improve your draft so that you hand in a really good final biology IA.